Hello, it's Olivia Renee with Emotional Energy Podcast. It's been one hot ass minute. So this episode is going to be kind of like, where have I been? What have I been doing? What is my plan now that it's been almost a year? Which is insane. My last episode was in October, but time is such an odd concept. But I just wanted to, reintroduce myself. Hi, I'm Olivia, and I'm a massage therapist, medical intuitive, emotional alchemist, holistic practitioner based out of Idaho. I'm a mom. I have one kid. And this podcast originally started about me just kind of going through my spiritual journey, my awakening, stories about motherhood, various aspects, was just a safe place for me to kind of express. Now, kind of moving forward, I feel like I'm at a part in my career, in my life, where I'm tired of wearing a mask. And that has been pretty apparent recently with some of the things I've been going through on how much of my life I put a mask on. Sometimes for protection, sometimes as a way just to survive, other times wanting to be picked. I've spent most of my early teens and 20s wanting picked, chasing the affection, chasing the love, because I didn't know how to give love to myself. And so that's been a big, heavy part for me in the last year. So kind of where I've been since October. In June, I started training in breathwork, and that opened a lot of closed ass doors. A lot of trauma came to surface, a lot of things that needed integrated. I ended my relationship in November, and that brought up a lot of interesting, there was a lot of things I was triggered in that dynamic. A lot of parts I feel like I lost myself, as well as, anyway, an interesting aspect. And so I took a few months off from even studying breathwork, and I had to really sit with my heart and integrate and allow myself to feel, because the rest of my life didn't stop. I was still a mom. I still was a business owner. And things got a little dark for a while, but I definitely was able to sit with them for sure. And I think that's such a beautiful part of this journey, and something I try to work with clients on heavily is like, the feeling is just a feeling that needs felt. Okay. Doesn't have the story, right? Like, fear is just fear. It's literally just fear. Disconnected is just disconnected. All right. But we have these past patternings and these childhood programming, past lives, if you believe in that. There's a lot of different things that can tie into it, right? So we attach the story instantly right away. And so super heavily, especially with my daughter right now, just like allowing the feeling to come up. Good, bad, they're all beautiful, and they all serve a purpose, and your body keeps score. I'm very big on that, especially in my practice. I'm very big on getting to the root cause, more so now than ever. I feel like I kind of hid that a little bit from the outside world. Didn't really put it on my website. I would kind of sneak it into sessions a little bit. And yeah, so I'm kind of getting on a tangent, which you'll realize I have a chakras mouth. I'm very in the moment. And just allow whatever to come out. So sometimes we'll jump around, sometimes it'll be specific oriented, but basically how I want to move this podcast is not only like my journey and those close to me, but also a lot of my career, what is coming up in sessions, what our clients will lean in their body, and just giving real life examples of it, because I think it's really beautiful, the work that's being done in my office that my clients are doing. I feel like I was a Band-Aid for a really long time in my practice of just fixing, but nobody was doing anything outside of my office, and diving into more of my intuition and opening those doors, the mind-body connection, dealing my own pain, my own issues. It's really allowed me to see like how beautiful it can be, and that I don't have to save everybody. And so I use the term a lot more so lately, like I'm a gateway holder. I've always been really good at being able to see the whole picture, bringing different people together. And I often say, like, I'm the guy between realms. Like, I can bring you here, but I can also dive you here. And the inner knowing and the feeling in my own body, and helping people process their emotions and really getting to the root cause and what are their patterns, what are their conditionings, what's causing their dysfunction, dis-ease within their body. And so I do really want to start bringing that to surface. I feel like I've kind of been scared a little bit, because sometimes it is really intense. And if you aren't open to it, it seems a little woo-woo or a little scary, or if it's anything outside the box that we're fucking brought into, right? What the hell is the box? And I just want to share that. And so whether this reaches a lot of people, it doesn't reach a lot of people, I still have this deep innate knowing in my soul that I'm meant for the stage. I'm meant to have books, but I feel like that will come later in life. And so a part of me getting to that future that I see for myself as showing up authentically as myself, as weird, as goofy, as trucker mouth that she can be. It's beautiful, and I have a light to give, and I'm tired of hiding that. And a lot of what I've realized lately in life is that I have masked pretty much throughout my entire life. And I'm ready to take the mask fully off. I definitely still have shadows and parts of my inner child that I do revert back to. I met with a client friend yesterday for coffee before work. And I've said a few times to her, because she kind of came out of nowhere. And there were some connections. Her sister and I went to high school together, various things, and without giving away too much information. But one of the first times I saw her, she didn't really know what to expect, but was open. And I came in blunt force of like, let's dive into it. It was beautiful. It was emotional. It was healing in a lot of ways. But I remember when she went to leave my shop, I looked at her and she was like, thank you so much. And I was like, no, thank you for letting me be me. Because there's a lot of times in life I still can't be me. Whether that's my shadow self, my inner child self, or just feeling like people won't get it. And I've said that a lot lately in people in my life. Like I do feel like an alien outside of my office because I still feel like I haven't found my like safe base. And I know I believe in reincarnation and that you choose areas for specific reasons. So I know I'm here for a reason, but doesn't mean that it's not hard as fuck some days. And so part of this podcast is, again, talking about sessions, part of my life, solutions, what's worked for me, what's worked for clients. I really have tried to come from a place of, I'm not going to hit you with all the scientific words. I'm not going to bring you blah, blah, blah. Like, I want you to see me, the real me. Some days are stupidly hard. Other days are beautiful. And I think so much of our life, we're just put into this box. And especially with the amount of labels, I'm having a lot of these things are coming up basically. So I have felt an itch to go back to my podcast for a while now, but that little girl inside of me is really still scared of rejection and not being good enough. And sometimes you just have to face that. So I had coffee yesterday. I set up this station between clients yesterday and I was like, okay, it's time. And I didn't have clients today. So I blocked it off and I was like, I'm going to record an episode. I'm just going to dive into it and do it. And I took my girl to school and I was like, I'm just going to like lay down for a little bit. And I took a nap and I had the craziest dream. I was like screaming at my mom. We were fighting about some things. I took my daughter and my dog and left and ended up at a college campus and was like getting into a dorm and having to say goodbye to my daughter. I couldn't bring my dog in. I was like 34 in the dream. And my roommates were like 21. There were supposed to be 2 of them plus me, so 3 of us. And I left the room to get some more things and I came back and there was like 2 more girls and they were sleeping on like chairs that turned into beds. And so it was like really squished. We were fighting over where our shit was going to go. I was still trying to get my daughter situated because I was like saying goodbye. Like there was a lot of weird feelings came up and I woke up like just tight as shit, stressed as shit and was like, what the fuck? So I had to like, kind of write about it, talk about it. I do use ChatGPT sometimes to really process like what's going on kind of with situations like that. And it just brought up a lot of like fear. And on my Instagram, I posted a post yesterday that I had set this space up and I had pulled cards. And sometimes I'm scared to give too much of myself because the work that I do is very heart centered and it can feel draining at times. Although a lot of times with body work, I've tried to pull above and pull below. It normally doesn't come from me much anymore. But the intuitive stuff, like I can feel their emotions. I can feel stuff in my body. It's hard to explain, I guess, and we'll get into that in future episodes. But it can be intimidating. It can be intimidating, the fear of rejection. Not everybody takes it openly in the beginning, right? And it can be scary. And so I do have this fear of truly putting myself out there. And is rejection going to come with that? Which is something I'll continue to face throughout life, right? And it's a part of my shadow that I'll have to face. I've definitely learned in the last 4 years of being on this journey, November will be 4 years, that it's an ebb and flow. And something that continues to kind of repeat for me recently, and something I talk heavily with my clients and my daughter and those in my immediate circle, is a feeling is just a feeling. Okay, we're the ones that put the story with it, right? Fear is just fear. Not fear of snakes, fear of abandonment, fear of blah, blah, right? This is a whole story that's part of our conditioning and our past patterning and reincarnation, if you believe in that, past lives, whatever you like to believe in. you do you, boo. But we have this whole other bubble, right? And so when a client comes into my shop and they feel this is just this. It's not all of this. So sometimes it's about just allowing your body to feel this without absorbing this whole dynamic and storyline and falling back into a pattern and allowing your energy just float off here forever, right? It's about, let's come factual. What does fear feel like to you? Allow yourself to feel it. What does that anger feel like? Like allowing your body to release it. And so I just feel like I need to speak it, and the people that need to hear it will hear it or they won't. And it's a part of me to authentically show for myself. And I feel like I've grown immensely in the last year since my last episode. Like I said, I started breathwork in June of last year, and that came out of nowhere, and attended an energy healing conference, had crazy release, and was like, okay, this is like what I'm missing next. Signed up to become a facilitator and went through that whole journey, opened a lot of closed doors, a lot of scare, a lot of heaviness came to light. And as much as I still had to be a mom and a business owner, I did my best to retreat where I could retreat, allow myself the space to feel. I ended my relationship in November. That brought up a lot of things. Holidays, my daughter was gone a lot last year due to the holiday schedule. And so just really like giving back to me. I started walking a lot, getting outside a lot, and just kind of turning inward. Over the last year, I had been looking for a new shop to move my practice. It had been calling to me for a while. I had applied to a few places in the relationship, out of the relationship, and just nothing was really working. And some things happened. The rent was going to get increased. I felt this urge to look. I sent an email late, I think it was like midnight on a Sunday, Monday morning, to look at a place. Went and looked at it Monday. It wasn't really going to fit. Had reached out on another place, and the landlord was like, I don't have somewhere here, but I have somewhere here. It's not even posted. Went and looked at it that next day, and I think at like noon, I think I had the lease by like 4 that day and was moving that night. Like it just, for once in my life, I chose myself, which is something I'm really still learning. Chronic people pleaser, that childhood kind of wounding. And so for the June, July, August, September, the almost 4 months that I've been in my new shop, I've like 100% authentically been me, from the decorations in my shop to my breathwork studio to my website to my social media. And a lot of that has been beautiful to show up super authentically me, but also I feel very alone in a lot of ways, because I'm realizing how much of my life that I wore masks. And that, again, was protection. Sometimes it was to be picked. I had chased my whole life of wanting to be the one. Friendships, in dynamics, in staying where I don't belong at a soul level. And I knew that, but I still thought, like, if I could just help them, they'll love me. If I could just save them, they'll love me. And so many of my relationships were that way. And that's been a very like big epiphany for me recently. And I don't really know what's next. And you'll realize throughout these episodes that I kind of jump around. I just kind of let my intuition guide. As much as I used to be that A plus B had to equal C person, that very black and white person, I'm not that person anymore. And I don't want to just pretend that I know everything, because I absolutely do not. But there are parts of my soul that resonate, that hit my higher self, my inner knowing, that I can't deny anymore. And I think getting back to the podcast is just a beautiful way to share that, help those. There are some other things in the work that I want to create, and I need this before this comes forward. And so, yeah, I think it'll be a beautiful ride. Beautiful thing about free will, right? Like, it's been a year since I've recorded this, and here I am again, and that's beautiful, and that's okay. I think a lot of times I had to sit with myself last night journaling, in the sense of like setting this stuff up, how I was feeling, the cards that I pulled last night that I shared on my social media. And I have, and within that, like, well, probably last year and a half, I had tried to create 2 other businesses. I was kind of chasing money aspect, and they both fall completely flat. And so I have this like rejection deep, the shadow part of, am I a failure? And so being away from this for a year, and my mic has been in my shop since I opened this location in June, and I've had clients bring it up like, oh, you have a podcast? And I'd be like, yeah. And I think part of being human is, again, remembering the free will. Like, you don't have to be committed to anything. You don't have to always be 100%. And I think that's the beauty of how I'm trying to live my life, is I have been much more authentic and transparent. And I think it's beautiful to feel. And I think no matter what in life, you have this constant damn ebb and flow, right? And it's okay to be here one day and here one day. Like, that's part of the duality of life. And I think everybody has a different perspective on that. And so, again, if it doesn't resonate with you, it doesn't resonate with you. I'm not trying to get you to understand or choose my side. I'm just showing up as me. And I am excited for this. Kind of what's come up for me recently, the fall equinox. This past weekend, I attended a ceremony and did Hape for the first time. And so much of that came forward for me. I cried a lot. Was about self-forgiveness and self-abandonment. And a lot of realizing how much I stayed in situations that I knew I did not belong in at a soul level. And I could just remember crying as I'm like laying in our yoga studio. I'm tired of being the strong one. My whole life I tried to have it put together. I chased the job, or career, the vehicle, the house, the awards, the reviews, the see me, see me, see me, see me, see me, and accept me. And I am tired of being accepted, I guess, because none of that brings me joy. Also, what happened this year, which I have talked about a lot in my like immediate life, but I think as a society, there's a lot of shame to it. And so part of me showing up authentically is I did file bankruptcy this year. And so I've had to work through a lot of that shame and guilt. And so much of my life anymore, I've repeated to a few people recently, like, I just want peace. I I just want peace. And, I have less than 6 years until my daughter's 18. And so I mentioned this kind of in the previous episodes of like, where do I want to be when I don't have to be here, per se, custody wise, various aspects. And where do I see myself? And, part of becoming that person is actively showing up as her now, even if I don't understand it fully, even if I don't understand fully the feelings that I'm feeling inside. I've learned a lot kind of recently, and I may have already said this, but I have felt much like an outcast my whole life. And I had chased that box or that feeling of just wanting to be accepted. And in so many situations, like even taking Reiki this year that I took, and breath work, like in those moments, they feel really, really good and concrete and feel great. I feel like I belong. And then some time passes and I realize that's not my full path. Like, I know that I'm meant to create and forge my own beautiful dynamic. As much as no shame or hate to anybody in the healing industries, but I've never been one to just pick up one thing and be like, ah. I think that they're beautiful building blocks, and I will always kind of follow my intuition. And so kind of just realizing that, like, even in these groups I get in and they feel great in the beginning are like not necessarily always where I'm meant to be. And that's okay. But I think that comes with shame. Does that come, kind of trigger that abandonment? Am I abandoning them? Am I not returning to text messages? Am I not showing up in groups where I don't necessarily feel like I even resonate anymore or belong? And I think that's a part of just kind of growth and healing, is realizing that like this box doesn't necessarily exist. And I think it's kind of been a beautiful reflection that although I've always been an outcast and an outlier, I've always been heavily emotional. And most of my life, it's been like, why do you feel like that? Why do you keep repeating yourself? And a lot of times with relationships, like, we get it, fucking Olivia, stop repeating yourself. But I didn't. I needed to keep repeating it because this feeling inside was so deep. And so a part of feeling the way that I feel and the deepness that I have felt in the journey that I've been through, back surgery and allergic reaction and almost dying, and within my own practice and my own pain, there's something deeper behind it all. And I'm excited to continue to discover that. I think we are always our biggest critics, and you hear that saying a lot. And I think especially with a lot of what's going on in the world right now, between left versus right, religion versus no religion, political versus non-political, like, there's so much tug and pull and tug and pull and tug and pull. And part of doing this podcast is, again, is just like sharing real life scenarios that like the tug and pull is okay, and it's okay not to know. And at the end of the day, as much as you need to do, like up here, return home, return home, return home, return outside of the past programming, right, from childhood or religion or family dynamics or, belief systems. I think a lot of times, like even the amount of labels that are going around right now, I struggle with a lot at a soul level. And so, um, I just want to be an area that people can come to, whether they come or not. That's on them. And I'm not trying to get anybody to have my belief, see things my way. Again, it doesn't resonate. It doesn't resonate. Move on, babe. Move on. It's all good. I promise. Because I'm still constantly learning myself and stepping into my higher power. And I, yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. So, again, I used to always call you guys my spirit babies. So, hello, welcome back. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to kind of record these. I talk with my hands a lot, by the way, and I'm in my office. So my massage area is here. This room is my breathwork room. So I do have a space now for sure. And so I'm hoping that they'll be more frequent, but I'm just going to kind of listen to my heart again, like I have been trying to, and just see what comes forward. So again, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, they both should be on there. It's been a minute since I've done this, so we'll just kind of touch base and see how it all works again. It's been a minute. I tried to record this like twice and it's not worked, so this is the third time, so we'll see. But yeah, so I guess if there's something that you want me to touch on, want to hear, comments, social media, embrace the gray, brisk therapy, all of that is available. I've always said, especially lately, like the more authentic I show up in my office, I feel very much foreign, like an alien outside, in reality, in life, because the shit that happens here is so cool. And I just want a space where I can share that. Obviously, I'm going to change some demographic aspects just to respect my clients as much as possible. But I think that this message just needs to be put out there. Because the other side is so pushed and our bodies are incredible. And I just want to help share that light and continue to forge my own path. And I know some of this is roundabout. That's tend to be how I do things because I just start here and then I'm like, oh yeah, this and this and this. And I think that's okay. If it's not your vibe, again, no shame. But at the end of every episode that I used to record, I would pull from my animal spirit deck. And I think we're going to continue that. Especially because I pulled yesterday. I pulled today before we started. And sometimes I think it's just beautiful, the message that comes forward. So today's card is Lizard and Dream the World into Being. And so the message that is tied to Dream the World into Being: when was the last time you basked in the sun and allowed yourself to daydream, to imagine what might be and what you might become? A lizard spirit appears when you are called to let your imagination flow and dream something new. Inspiration is available to you now if you are willing to slow down and let your eyes close a little. Allowing ideas to dance in your head, what might come into being if you were to pursue your dream? How might you grow and expand if you allowed yourself to dare to believe in the impossible? Making it possible first in your dreaming mind and then on the world as you co-create with spirit. Given to the power of imagination, and soon your dreams will become clear. The steps will reveal themselves, and what seemed out of reach will begin to come into form. Dream it and be it. Spirit asks you to dare to dream big. So again, I just asked you to dream big. What does that look like? There's a lot of astrology stuff changing. And where do you want to be? Who do you want to be here? Not here. No, what society tells you to be. But who do you want to be? And I think, at the end of the day, a lot of what I've come to realize with filing bankruptcy, losing a tooth because of shit that was going on, storing emotions in my body, feeling insecure, all of these dynamics, right? At the end of the day, if I died tomorrow on my casket, it's not going to say she won awards. It's not going to say, oh, she owned a house. It's not going to say, oh, that bitch hated her. What's up? Like none of this shit. Just be you, babe. I want to be known for my kindness, for my love, for my collective light that I want to share, that I know I'm here to share. as much as it feels like an alien in a lot of ways, being in this smaller Idaho town, I know I'm meant to be here for a reason. And I'm reminded that daily in the clients that come into my shop that allow me to be me authentically. I think I'd mentioned I went to coffee yesterday, and that's what kind of started this. And allowing people to truly see me has been beautiful. And I just want to show up as that person, despite the rejection that may come or the hate that may come. Hi, it's Olivia Renee, and this is Emotional Energy Podcast, and I think I'm here to stay this time. I'm here to share the light, so I hope to see you on the next episode. I don't know again how I'll post these. We'll just kind of fuck around and find out. So, see you next time.